I will say this. Sean Payton shares your feelings. Not necessarily about the spread, but like I watched the post-game press conference, and Sean Payton was just like, listen, I'm glad we won. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he's basically like, look, I'm glad we won, but like
State of the team.
We got a lot of, like he said something like, I told the team, like, hey, enjoy this moment, but we got work to do, which is rightfully so. Like they
weren't good.
They were not good. I mean, like a week after, barely beating your Jets.
Well, the offense didn't do anything.
Like they're lucky that they didn't go to Tyrod Taylor. The Jets didn't go to Tyrod Taylor to get another 25 yards.
Yep.
Then they come in and they get their ass kicked by the Giants for 3.5 quarters. Right? I mean, basically, and like. They got lucky that they did make the nice interception, but they had a touchdown go off of Cortland Sutton's hand that Troy Franklin winds up with as well, and then the Giants missed an extra point at the end after an unbelievable drive by Dart. The Broncos. I don't want to say they got away with one because
they got away with one.
A little bit.
I think they got away with one.
But listen, they were great too, and listen, Giants had one of their own where Theo Johnson manages to.
Oh, there were some plays in this game that was just like you thought somebody was behind the scenes pressing buttons.
It was just bonkers, but and it's weird because Nix and Dart both have great fantasy days. Scattaboo gets into the end zone again. Sutton does his normal Cortland Sutton type thing. The Theo Johnson play was sort of crazy. Wan'Dale Robinson continued to be the number one for the Giants here. Tough game for J.K. Dobbins in a game in which the Broncos put up so many points. J.K. Dobbins, and they were close a lot. And Dobbins ran well. They just couldn't get him the ball in close. Nice to see Evan Ingram show up in the box score for once.
In a game where Bo Nix really did nothing for you in fantasy for the first 3 quarters, he explodes in the fourth, ends up as QB1 going into the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We got to hear from Bo Nix on the Broncos offense coming alive at the end of the game.
We just saved all our good ones for the fourth quarter, and they worked. We just kept running them, and we found some momentum, and our defense found some stops. We got a huge turnover, and all of a sudden we just got some life back. There was a time of the game, where me and the boys are over there, and I see one of them kind of counting. I'm like, you know what? It's probably best we don't do that because a lot of numbers you're going to have to count to. Let's just play one play at a time. And sure enough, we all smiled and nodded and just went on to the next play and went on to the next drive. And we went down and scored, and it just was – you just kept making plays and kept making plays and kept making plays.
Yeah, those numbers are pesky. Who wants to count those numbers?
Right. Just go play and plays and see what happens.
And play. Well, play he did. 174 yards and 2 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Also runs for 2. Unbelievable. 35.6 fantasy points in just the fourth quarter. Bo Nix finally used, we saw him use his legs a lot last year. Feels like it hasn't been nearly as much this year, but obviously this year he did. And Bo Nix putting up a 40-burger. Bo Nix drinks for free at the happy hour today.
Full Undertaker meme. You were probably watching your team be like, I can't believe I started Bo Nix this week.
Oh, and he hasn't been great. He hasn't delivered what you drafted him to be. He was drafted as a top 10
this week.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a reckoning is coming, though, for the Broncos. They're like the rich man's Panthers. They're a lot better than the Panthers.
My God.
Well, the Panthers are 4-3.
Yeah.
The Broncos are 5-2. The Broncos shouldn't be 5-2. The defense. Look, here's the thing. Coming back from Europe, just kind of weird stuff happens. Like the Browns, when they came back from Europe, they just did nothing against the Steelers at all. So you give them a little bit of a pass for that. But this offense hasn't been that good all year. It's great to come back and get the win, to chalk up the W. But beyond that, I wouldn't take too many learnings out of this.
The defense doesn't seem as strong as we thought it was.
A lot of broken plays yesterday.
People are able to, teams are able to move the ball against the Broncos somewhat. And then you combine that with the fact that the Chiefs look otherworldly, and you're sort of like the Broncos once again looks like you're playing for a wild card.
I just, week 17, Chiefs host Denver. It's like a Thursday night or something. It's like, that's going to be for the division. Chiefs going to be 7-point favorites.
Maybe. I don't know if it comes down to that.
Well, they're a game clear right now, and they're a solid team, the Broncos. So, but it just feels like it's going to be builders for the division, and then the Chiefs will win by 14 and win the AFC West like they always do.
This game totally changed though when Paulson Adebo came out and Tay Banks came in for the Giants, and Bo Nix was like, okay, I'm going to attack the backup corner, who's a former first rounder, but he doesn't play up to that standard, and that's not sustainable every week. But credit to Bo Nix and the offense for recognizing that and fully capitalizing.
Yeah, and by the way, if there's a positive here, so they played Dallas next week. They're at home. So you feel like Bo Nix sort of, again, it was crazy that it all came in this fourth quarter. This is such a weird game to take anything away from it. But I do feel like, as we'll get talking about this as the week goes on, but like you feel better about this Broncos offense coming off of that fourth quarter, now hosting Dallas at home. I know Dallas played well. We'll get into that game. But ultimately, I do think, two of the next three are pretty nice, right? They're home to the Cowboys. They're at the Texans. That'll be a tough one. Then home to the Raiders in Week 10. Then home to the Chiefs in Week 11 before a bye. Yeah, they get 2 weeks to prepare for my Commanders. Thanks, NFL schedulers.
Yeah, I think from a fantasy perspective,
the schedulers,
the elusive schedulers. I think from a fantasy perspective, like you're starting Cortland Sutton, you're starting Bo Nix as like a fringy QB1 because of the rushing, and then you're starting J.K. Dobbins as a RB2 type. There's nothing super inspiring, but these guys have, for the most part, fairly high floors fantasy-wise.
Yeah, look, I think the bigger takeaway is on the other side of the ball with the Giants. Again, people probably benched Jaxson Dart. We talked a lot about, I was clear. I had him low in my ranks. Denver so good against rushing quarterbacks, so we didn't expect a lot from Dart. And look, the Daniel Bellinger, there was like broken coverage there in the Daniel Bellinger play, and then of course the Theo Johnson play was just sort of fluky. The Cam Scatterbo touchdown, like he threw it 2 yards and Scatterbo did the rest. So there's definitely some luck is probably too strong a word, but there's definitely some good fortune in terms of his fantasy points. But I think what's exciting about Dart is that 75% of his points in Week 7 did come as a passer, right? And so, there was the question was, like, if he's not running, can he produce fantasy points? And between Scatterbo, who has now had at least 90 yards from scrimmage in all 4 of Dart's starts, and Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 for 80 now in back-to-back games. Like, they're starting to find some pieces. And, yes, it was a fluky play, but still, Theo Johnson still did make the catch and still did run to the house after it bounced up in the air. So, I don't know. I think, I said it when he was drafted, that Jaxson Dart was going to be and during the preseason, certainly. Like, whenever he becomes a starter, this guy's a top 12 guy the rest of the way.
So it's very impressive he was able to put up these numbers against the Broncos defense that did come in to this game as one of the top 2-3 defenses in the league. Also, I think that a lot of this was extremely fluky. The fact that his 3 touchdowns, one comes on a comically blown coverage where just the guy's Bellinger's wide open 20 yards in front of everyone else. Another one, the tip pass, and then another screen pass. It wasn't anything super sustainable. He was very inaccurate overall. I think Dart, again, what's the takeaway? You're still going to be pretty comfortable starting him because of the rushing value. It's just I'm still wary of him putting up passing numbers all season without Malik Neighbors.
Yeah. Maybe they make a move for a wide receiver at the deadline that makes you feel a little better about it, but we still have a couple weeks for that to actually take place.
I would have said yes, definitely, if they win this game, right?
Yeah,
They're 2 and 5 versus 3 and 4 is really different.
You almost have to if you win this game because it goes to show you after beating them and the Chargers, you feel like you could play with anybody.
For sure.
But,
and the Eagles.
And of course, the Eagles.
Yeah, they would have won. If you're the Giants, if you win this game, you're like, hey, we're 3 and 4. Commanders look awful. No one's scared of the Cowboys, and we've already beaten the Eagles head-to-head. We've got a shot here, and so...
They play the Eagles this week coming up, and they can clinch the tie-break, but now 2 and 5, a little far back.
Yeah, and Shane Bowen's defense could fall apart at any moment that keeps Dart trying to score points. They don't really even the interception, I know a lot of people have hindsight on that, but they keep keep going for it. Hard
to sweep a series, and they're at Philadelphia, and we'll get to the Eagles, but they looked a lot better. But then home to San Francisco, at Chicago. So...
I will say one thing about Dart, and that goes against the point of Neighbors just crippling his value in the passing game, is that you are more immune to a lack of talent in your receiving corps if you can create outside of structure.
Yes.
Right? If you can extend plays consistently, because then it just gives gives guys more chance to get open. They don't have to beat coverage in 2 seconds or whatever. So Dart will have that. He's always going to be able to move around and create out of structure.
And Scatterbo now is like bordering. I mean, like we head into Monday Night Football. He's the 9th best running back in fantasy on this one. Again, another 90 yards from scrimmage game. He catches the touchdown. Scatterbo is borderline RB1 material at this point. Like Tyrone Tracy is literally just an insurance back.
He did have the free touchdown, though.
Yeah.
You would have loved if Scatterbo got that one.
I know.
How
exactly.
many people on the street could have scored that touchdown? It was wide open.
Me and you, probably not Jay.
Stuntman Chuck, 85, actually has a thought here about Jay. He says Jay never should have abandoned his Giants.
Yeah.
Although, it actually looks right now.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good call, Stuntman Chuck. Yeah, exactly.
Well, do you know how I abandoned them before, though?
The Saints.
No.
It's the team we have to talk about now.
The Indianapolis
powerhouse Indianapolis
Stop
Colts.
It. Absolutely not. Don't let him rewrite history. He abandoned the Giants for the Saints, and then he abandoned the Saints for the Colts. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.